Brass Tacks here. And today I'm going to share my thoughts about dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction with yourself, with your situation, with others. Just dissatisfaction. And some of the ways you can remedy that feeling that's gnawing away at you. Now, it's my belief, and I'm going off of some anecdotal evidence as well as some testimonies from other people, that dissatisfaction with a situation, a person, an event, a circumstance, what have you, essentially means you're not comfortable anymore. It means something bothers you or is bothering you. It means that there could be a lack of trust, or it could also mean that uh, the relationship is changing for the better, because, things have to grow. It could also mean things are changing for the worse. But that feeling of dissatisfaction that you get, it it doesn't go away right away. Some people meditate on it and they find out what the source is, and they realize that they're responsible for the circumstances that they find themselves in, and they seek to resolve those issues in a timely order, timely fashion, and in an order in which provides them an avenue that will allow them to be successful in what they do. Now, it's been my experience that that's not necessarily the norm, because it's so painful to think that maybe, just maybe, that we're responsible for the situations and the circumstances we find ourselves in. It's way easier to blame someone else, to blame our circumstance, to blame someone else's actions, to blame some past transgression. It's always easier to avoid taking responsibility for something that goes wrong in our lives. Now, if it's something that goes great, something that goes good, something that society will in turn pat us on the back for, oh, we're ready to take responsibility for that. Well, we'll say that's all me. You know, um, I may not have been able to make this relationship work, uh, you know, with my child's uh, other parent, but since he or she is succeeding in what they're doing, I'm going to take credit for that because that was all me. Um, I did some stuff to possibly put the relationship at risk. I was possibly negligent. I quite possibly negatively affected my child. But, sometimes it's time to pat ourselves on the back and forget all of our negative outcomes and transgressions, and tell everybody to be proud of us. And that's just an example. I know it was kind of loose, but you get what I'm saying. You couldn't take care of a relationship. You ran the other person off. You didn't pay attention to them. You neglected them emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever. And that person said, I had enough, and found somewhere else to go and found somebody else that they could be happy with. Meanwhile, you quite possibly have taken that out on that child and, aided in the parental alienation that took place over the next, decade or decade and a half. You don't like your job or employment situation. So whenever that smiling new coworker walks into the office, you and other people make it your mission to wipe that smirk off their face, to make them just as miserable as you are, to impart the type of negativity that you've built up over these however long you've been there. Now, granted, you could have left. Granted, you could have found another place of employment. Granted, you could have transferred to another department, but you stayed there and just built up this resentment and hatred. And whenever that new coworker comes in there and has all this zeal and ambition and great ideas, you just beat it out of them. Just slowly but surely, you help them transform into the miserable person that you are. Same thing goes with the relationships. If we're dissatisfied with ourselves, we want our partners to be dissatisfied as well. Now, we don't want them to be dissatisfied with us. We just want them to be dissatisfied. We want to put all of our problems, we want to blame our lot in life on them and what they could have did better. We want them to be responsible for their fuck-ups as well as fucking up our shit. Now, mind you, we're probably asking them to take on double duty and be responsible for two people in a relationship. And now keep in mind, this is also for an example where there's only two people involved in the relationship. Some people have a third wheel, but one or more party, but the other party doesn't know about it. Some people literally don't have enough to spare because they're dedicating it to the person that's on the side. Or maybe the side person thinks they're the main person. The main person, is actually the side person. I don't know. But sometimes we ask way too much of people, and it's far too tempting to blame other people for how our lives turned out. It seems like it's out of the realm of possibility for us to be responsible for why we ended up right back where we started, or for us to have backslid because of something we did, or because we weren't attentive to certain pitfalls that were coming our way. We all love strong people, but we only like them when it's in our interest, when it works out best for us. We don't like people that resist the urge to take on your transgressions and be responsible for you. We like weak people then. But then again, we kind of like strong people because we like people who don't complain about when we heap all our problems on them. So, it just depends on the situation. Keep in mind, we're not even looking at ourselves a lot of the times. We're not looking at how we could help them out. We don't realize that we could be helping them out by helping ourselves, and in turn feel better about our situation. And that maybe, just maybe, they aren't to blame for how things turned out. Maybe, just maybe, we should be grateful that we have somebody in our lives to listen to our bullshit. Who knows? You do. I do. But it's going to take a level of honesty that a lot of us aren't comfortable with to figure things out. Let the chips fall where they may. And understand that some of them are going to fall in your lap and at your feet. And that in this life, you're responsible for how things turned out. If you have children, you're responsible for how things turn out for them as well. I know you're thinking that, well, they're individuals, they're children. Let's be serious here. You're responsible for them. You're supposed to be an adult. You're supposed to be able to handle your lot. And if you decide to bring a life or lives into this world, then you're responsible for them too. It's not always fun. It's not always going to be a walk in the park. But it's not always going to be raining cats and dogs. It's not always going to be one of those situations where you got to pick the lesser of two evils. Most of the time, you just have to be willing to be responsible for yourself and how things turn out and say, yeah, I fucked up. I need to change that. That's my bad. Just as quickly as you're trying to say, that's my boy, or that's my girl, or I did it all by myself. Sometimes all you really need to do is just exercise the level of discipline that you know you're supposed to use, that you expect the other person to exercise for you, that you expect your higher power to exert. If you help yourself, you help others. If you take responsibility for yourself, you help yourself. You help others. Maybe, I don't know, this is ballpark, but maybe, just maybe, your partner or significant other won't check out on you emotionally if, and this is the big if you're not dumping shit in their lap all the time. Maybe, just maybe, they'll open up to you. Maybe you'll feel more comfortable open up to them too, because there won't be this tension in the air, this resentment that's going on. That's existing solely because you don't want to take responsibility for your actions. Now we all know that there's people out there that are going to always try to let us hold the bag. They're going to try to escape responsibility because it makes them feel good and allows them to keep going on with their bullshit. But I'm not fucking talking to them. I'm talking to you. Pull up your panties, pull up your drawers, man the fuck up, man the woman up, or woman up. Handle your fucking business. Keyword, your business. You're responsible for how your life turns out, good and bad. Brass tacks out.